Hello everyone, I'm Somnani Spud, and today, to commemorate the 2-year anniversary of episode 1 of Ultraman Ace, I wanted to go through episodes 1 through 5 and basically just retell any behind-the-scenes stories or fun, interesting facts that you need to know for the future of the series, just as a fun 2-year anniversary celebration, you know? So, without further ado, let's get started with episode 1. And that's why I'm here. Me. I'm Kayakudo. I was birthed by the light. Using the DNA of Seiji Okudo after he died, Ultraman Ace passed on into me. So, with this, I kind of wanted to explain why I was related to the original Ultraman Ace, like why he chose me, rather than having it just be, the stereotypical, I'm a normal guy, I die, Ultraman shows up, he happens to be Ultraman Ace, and then we share bodies. I didn't really want to do that with this. I feel like that's kind of how every YouTube Ultraman show starts. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to be not like a legacy sequel, but in a way a legacy sequel to the original, because the original's anniversary was coming up, of course. And I feel like the best way to do that would have been with me being related to Seiji Okudo himself. This is more of a Ultraman G situation where he's kind of a clone that calls himself the son of Belial. I'm basically a clone, but instead of it being like me looking like the original Seiji Okudo, it's kind of just Ultraman Ace being copied over into a new vessel of light, and me having a mental connection with the original hosts. Kanagan's my informant. He's a good ally to have, but not very trustworthy if you can't pay him a pretty penny. I genuinely kind of forgot that I gave Kanagan a human form here. Kanagan hasn't really shown up in a human form since episode 1, but I do plan on maybe having a comeback. It's mostly just scheduling issues with the actor. Kanagan definitely has a bigger presence in the first half of the show rather than the second. I think he shows up in 1, 2, 4, and 5. But definitely I feel like what he does in the second half of the show really is when he gets like bigger as a character. And I feel like we'll definitely need the human forms because he's going to interact with other characters. So definitely I would expect the human form to come back. I find this scene pretty funny just because we are most definitely both wearing the same jacket. So it kind of looks like we are twinning a little bit. I don't remember. It definitely wasn't planned. I think I had 2 outfits that we were filming on the same day, and this is the outfit that he came in. So I think it just turned out a coincidence, but I think it's a pretty funny coincidence. Honestly, I'm still pretty fond of that effect of Aristron rising out of the ground. It's something that I still use pretty often this day in like all the portfolio reels I've made. I mean, for 2 years old, I still think it's definitely one of my better effects. While we're on this scene, I also definitely want to highlight how incredibly embarrassing it was to be standing in the middle of my public road doing all of these transformation poses for different Ultraman. I just want to apologize to the old woman who lived in the house across from me filming this. She definitely saw me put up the Jack transformation pose, and it definitely looked like I was doing a not so nice salute. So while I find this fight pretty outdated for the most part effects wise, I do really like that tracking shot. It was pretty easy to do, but definitely one of my better shots, I think. So I've been asked why Taro doesn't show up in this lineup, and there is a reason, but mostly it's just because I kind of wanted it to be like the original, but the in-universe explanation is that essentially in the timeline, what happens is after Ace, everything stops. After the pool dies, the Choju stops showing up, there's like no more monsters. That's it. So no other Ultraman show happens after that. Taro exists. He's out there, but he's young. He's still training. Therefore, he hasn't really earned his rank on the Brothers' Mantle yet. And that's why he hasn't really shown up in my universe yet. Do with that what you will. So, the end credits scene, Hipporito and Yapul planning to take down Ace. I don't really have a whole lot to say about this other than Yapul, I kind of wanted him to be... The reason he was like a purple cloud here was in the original draft of the show, he was going to basically evolve as more minus energy was built up. He was going to start out as like this like vapor just with the eyes, and then by the show, like by the midsection, he would have been like a goopier version of himself. Like he would have been like a skeleton, to eventually being just his final form in the show. But that hasn't really carried over. The next appearance of him, he's just kind of Yapul, but with like some stuff around him. But I still think it's pretty fun to talk about. So this scene in particular is kind of shot. I kind of meant to shoot it like the original episode 2 of my Ultra 7 series. There is a conversation in the bathroom between my main character in that show and Ultra 7, and it's kind of shot exactly like this. Mostly just because I like to shoot myself looking at myself in the mirror. I also think it's just a kind of nice little reference to what once was. Yeah! I really do not remember using Keep Your Head Above the Mayhem in this sequence. I honestly didn't think I would be using Evangelion music this early on into the show. I know I haven't really used it in any episodes so far, but trust me in saying that in the second half of the show, it will come in spades. The second half of the show is going to lock in on music. This ending sequence was filmed in a public park about 45 minutes away from my house. I really like a lot of the scenery, but as I said earlier, this is a public park, which means people are watching me do all of this stuff on camera live. I specifically remember talking about the final conversation with Ace, where basically I'm talking to myself. People walked directly behind us and asked me, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just filming something for a school project." And they walked away. And I looked at my brother who was filming me, and he's like, "So why'd you lie to them?" I'm like, "I'm not telling them I'm making an Ultraman show." But yeah, speaking of my brother, he filmed this scene, and he's the reason why it cuts every so often, and why it dips down below the top of my head, and why it shakes so often. Essentially what I'm trying to say is that my brother sucks at filming stuff. Shout out my brother.
Go, Pagos! Retrieve the Ultraman Harvester of Minus Energy!
To this day, I still think this may be my favorite sequence that I've created for the show. Maybe up until episode 6 in the fight in that episode. I don't know why, but I had a really fun time filming this and editing this, and I think it still holds up to what I do today. So I really do like the Egypt Giza attack from Pagos.
You know, I don't really think you should be smoking that, you know, my Lulu? I don't think it's good for your health, you know, being such a young age.
This was one of my favorite ideas to come up with my co-writer for this episode, GPTV. The alien bar is something that I really like the idea of. Kind of leaning more towards inspiration from Ultraman Taiga, where aliens can be good, they can be bad, they just live amongst the people. And that's something that I really want to expand on in the second half of the show. Aliens not all being evil and not all wanting to take over the Earth, or some that just want to live out their lives on Earth. I really like the idea of that. I think, and this bar is like a nice way to kind of convey that they do kind of live in secret, but they're not doing anything bad, you know? This scene also has some notable guest voice actors. The alien Dada is voiced by Jake D'Annunzio, who may or may not be coming back. Also in this scene is the bartender, which is a Alien Bolton. Kind of weird, kind of a very, very odd choice, but the voice actor for Alien Bolton in this is Sean Nichols, the actual actor from Ultraman Max. As far as I know, I am the only person who's ever been able to get an actual like Ultraman actor to be in a fan series. I wear that medal with honor, and I think it's one of my greatest achievements. It is a fun fact that I am very, very proud of, and one that I will be happy about until the day I die. Talking about the idea and character of the Maestro for a little bit, I really like this sequence just because, mostly the music. The music and basically the whole, motif of the Maestro is based a lot off of myself, and just, I really like classical music like this, and when it's used for bombastic, crazy scenes. For example, like the episode of Ultraman Taiga with Zeton, or the episode of Ultraman Taiga with Skull Gamora. I just really like orchestral music for big scenes like that. Episode 4 starts off with a bang. A space battle between King Joe and our first full-on Ultra cameo. They showed up a little bit in episode 1, but this is the first time an Ultraman other than Ace is really getting a spotlight in a fight. This of course being Ultra 7. Fun fact, the footage of the Ultra Act Ultra 7 was filmed by my good friend Ultramac Productions. He had an Ultra Act Ultra 7, and at the time I think he had just concluded Charge Ultra 7, so I figured I'd ask him to record some green screen stuff for me, and he did, so shout out him. This will not be the last time you hear his name. 4 episodes in, and Kai is finally made aware of Hippolyto and Yapul, or at least Hippolyto in this case. I genuinely hit the ground there, and that was all rocks, so that really, really hurt. And that's why we only got one take, so half of my body was cut off. I really like this scene just because, for starters, that is a actual video that I edited and then screencasted to the TV, just so that it looked more real and sounded more real. Secondly, I also really like how it kind of gives, just some, realism in the fact that just because we follow Ace in the show doesn't mean that every time he shows up, we follow, that's an episode. There are monsters that show up in between episodes. There are monsters that show up when we don't see them, and that is a whole plot line, how sometimes Ultraman Ace can't always be there. So, humanity's considering rebuilding TAC and stopping monsters themselves, which leads on to the next episode. This scene is meant to mirror the montage scene in episode 2. Also, like that montage, it also features basically the same music from Dyna. Another fun fact, you can definitely see my dog when I open the door for the package.
Alright, let's run some tests.
Jumborg 9. Online.
Ultramac Productions voices Jumborg 9. Jumborg 9 is an interesting fact about this show because he came in from an idea of an old show that I was going to have centered around just Jumborg 9, but I combined him and Ace together. Also, at the time of this episode, it was, I think, about a week after the 50th anniversary of his debut in the original Jumborg Ace show, so I wanted to pay tribute to that. And the reason I asked Ultramac Productions to voice Jumborg 9 is because he really just loves characters from Jumborg Ace, and I figured I'd ask. Also, this scene used Ultraman Z music, and that was one of the, I think, also the first fan series to use Ultraman Z music. At the time of this episode's release, the soundtrack had not been officially put out, so we found, like, edited versions, so I put it in there, and I was very happy with myself for that.
Jumborg 9 online.
Jumborg 9's theme here was created by the same person who did the Ace theme for my series, Slim Daddy Gaming, who has done a few music pieces for me. He's really great. I think his music sounds great, and I think it fits the tone of the show overall. And I haven't gotten the chance to use it since, but I'm definitely going to try to use it soon. Tak makes its grand return to my Ultraman Ace series, where Kai gets a rather unpleasant first viewing of the flyby test of the new plane, one in which they fly right over Kai, and I filmed this a few different ways, one of which where I kind of wanted just the kind of gale force winds that this plane had produced as it flew by to kind of drag up leaves and hit me in the face. So I filmed this a few different ways, one of which was for like a harder kind of more, wow, this plane is really powerful. I loaded up a leaf blower full of leaves, and this is what I got. I think that last shot's pretty funny just due to the fact that, number one, Kanagan is just right there next to me and I'm just there. And second of all, Kanagan gets in and he gets out. He sees that meteor fly down and he gets out of there. He books it, dude. But, I mean, honestly, I think that's one of my favorite shots. I think this entire sequence of Ace and Kai talking about Kai's like true problems with protecting the world, I think that is like the perfect sum up of this first half of Ace as a whole. Basically how the first half is Kai finding himself, finding out how to be a hero, and then the second half being him being a hero but also dealing with the consequences of his actions and not everyone liking him. And that's explored a lot in episode 7, definitely. But this shot at the end here is truly, I think, one of my favorites. I don't know why, but there's like a nuance of it. The sequence of Zeton teleporting behind Ace and Zafie and then slamming them together is supposed to be a play on the episode of Ace where Zafie shows up, and they have a whole thing where Zafie and Ace slam the two monsters into each other, except, I flipped it. I don't think too many people caught on to that. I probably could have done a little bit more to make that more evident, but, still. This is the same ending shot as episode 1 of the series. It works in a way where I think that this episode 5 almost acts as the end of Act 1 of this 2-act structure, but it also kind of works because both of these episodes came out around Christmas time, and you can see all the lights and whatnot, so I think it works. On the same note, this is supposed to act as basically the prologue for Ace, like Blazer episode 1. And there we have it. Secrets of episodes 1 through 5 of Some Naughty Spuds Ultraman Ace. I did this to basically celebrate the 2-year anniversary of the first episode. This has been a wild ride. I am so happy about where this show has gone, where this show is going to go. And everyone who's a fan, I want to thank everyone who's ever commented, everyone who's ever said anything, everyone who's ever just basically watched and enjoyed this show. There is more to come. I hope you're excited for episode 7 coming soon. It's definitely a big one. It's definitely one of my favorites. Yeah. Happy 2-year anniversary, episode 1 of Ultraman Ace. See you guys next time.